Hi boys and girls, my name is Vikas and I'm here with another video in my series C Programming My Way. And this particular video is more like a supplementary video to one of my previous videos where I discussed about the nested for loop and how to print a row by column kind of design using nested for loop. Just like I have shown you a previous video on how a single for loop works, this is another video on how nested for loop works. In the previous video of my series, the video called Symbol Patterns Part 2, in that video I have shown you how this particular program works, and in this video I am going to show you exactly what is happening in between this code so that I am getting a 3 by 3 star here. So let's move on. As soon as the first I variable is declared, I am storing that I in my table, and as soon as the first statement of the for loop is executed, that is I is equal to 1 is assigned with the table for our convenience and for keeping track of the current value of the variables that are available in the program. And so as per the loop, the very first next statement is checking whether the I is less than or equal to 3. So in this case, 1 is less than 3 satisfied, and so it gets into the first statement of the loop. And as you remember from the previous video, this is opening brace and the closing brace of loop represent its block. So this whole number of statements are part of this for loop. Okay, and this all these steps have to be executed sequentially from top to bottom to make sure that one iteration of this loop is over. So in our case, I is equal to 1 will be over only when all these statements are completed at least once. So I is 1 here and 1 less than 3 are satisfied, and the very next statement is int j. So let's move on. The next statement is int j, and as you can see, j variable is available in the table, and then the next statement is j is equal to 1, as you can see, and so 1 need to be assigned with j, and then it checks whether j is less than 3, and in this case j is 1 is less than 3 satisfied, and so it prints a star. As you can see, it will get the star. So here onwards I will try to go a little bit faster, so I try to keep up with the video. Okay, the very next statement after this is not to go to println, but it has to go here because this loop needs to be completed internally, then only it can go to the next statement only after this loop is over. So in this case, j is 1 less than 3 satisfied, it printed a star, then it goes to j++, and so the next statement is j++, and j++, as you know from the previous video, it increases the current number by 1. So the current number was 1 and it got increased to 2, so the new value of j is 2, and the very next thing as per the for loop procedure is to check the condition. And so the next statement is j less than or equal to 3, in this case 2 less than 3 satisfied, and so it prints another star in the same row as we have seen earlier in the video. Because I is 1 here, j loop is actually printing the columns of that particular row. So the second star got printed, and then again j increment, and so 2 becomes 3, j's new value is 3, and now it checks whether j is less than or equal to 3. In this case 3 is equal to 3 satisfied, and so it prints another star. As soon as you got the new star in the row, it tries to increment the j once again, and j becomes 4, and 4 is not less than 3 or not equal to 3, and so this loop has ended. In this case, j becomes 4 and 4 is not less than or equal to 3, and so this loop ends. As that is how I'm representing this. And then now that this particular loop is over, the very next statement is this printf-ln, and so it prints the new line. As soon as it prints the new line, it represents that is where our first row ends. Okay, and then it goes to the next statement. The next statement is getting I incremented, because this is the end of the loop of the first iteration of for I. Okay, and so because it has reached the end block or closing brace of the I block, I for block, it has to go next to I plus plus, which is the update statement, and so I plus plus will increase i's value 1 to 2, and so the next statement is I less than or equal to 3, and in this case I is 2 and 2 is less than 3 satisfied, and so it goes again inside the block of for I block, and so the next statement is to create int j, and I have the j variable available, and then again the loop continues. It goes to j is equal to 1, j becomes 1, and then it checks whether j is less than or equal to 3, that is 1 is less than or equal to 3, and that means in this case 1 less than 3 satisfied, and so it prints a new star in the next line. As you can see, the star is getting printed in the next line because we have already printed new line, print new line in the previous row at the end of the j loop. J loop has printed all the columns, in this case 1 to 3, 3 columns of the row, and so the three stars got printed, and this got printed just after the 3 stars, and because new line was already printed in the previous row, the current star is getting printed in the new line. Okay, and so let's move on. J is incremented now, and j becomes 2, 2 is less than 3, and so you get another star, then j gets incremented to 3, 3 is less than or equal to 3, so 3 is equal to 3 satisfied, and so it prints a new star, and as soon as you get the new star, j is again incremented with 4, and 4 is checked with whether it is less than or equal to 3, and we know that 4 is not less than or equal to 3, and so it does not print a star, and rather it goes to the next step that in the after the loop, and that is println. It prints the new line, and so it prints it makes sure that everything that is printed after this print line will be printed in the next row, that is the third row. And so as you know, the new part has got updated, that is it has reached the I for loops end, and it has to go to I plus plus, and so now the previous value was 2, and now it got updated with 3, and under I when I is 3, again it starts with int j, and so int j, and then j is equal to 1. This part is repeating for the third time. 1 is less than 3 satisfied, so it prints a star, and then j becomes 2, and 2 is less than 3 satisfied, it prints another star in the third row, and then j becomes 3, 3 equal to 3 is satisfied, and so it prints the third star in the third row, and that is how we got the 3 by 3 star box in this case. And as soon as the third star is printed, then j becomes 4 as in the sequence, and as it has happened in the second iteration and the first iteration. J became 4, 4 is not less than or equal to 3, and because 4 is not less than or equal to 3, it goes and prints a slash n, and anything that gets printed after this line will be printed on the fourth line. But in our case, we have reached the end of the first loop too, because the when we have reached the I plus plus, when we have reached this closing brace of the for loop, we are going back to I, okay, I plus plus, and now i's value got updated with 4. The previous value was 3, 3 added by 1 becomes 4, and once it has become 4, it checks whether I is less than or equal to 3, and 4 is not less than or equal to 3, and so the loop stops here. And as soon as the loop stops here, the very next statement is going to the going out of the for loop. So whatever that is written here will be executed, and in our case there is nothing here, and so the program should stop here by printing the 3 by 3 star. So this is how the nested for loop works, or for inside for works. Okay, let's move on. I have an exercise for you. In this, you are expected to try different combinations of values. In this case, you must have seen this kind of exercise in one of my previous videos, where I was dealing with a single for loop. In this case, because it is a two for loop, I want you to try different combinations of I values, and especially the I initialization and I's condition, the starting value and the ending value, and the update statement accordingly. just like the way I have shown it in the previous video. So try different combinations of these values for I and try different combinations of the values for j and see whether you are getting the same kind of result or not. So I expect you to try as many as combinations as you want, so to get a better understanding of how this works. So let's move on. There is another exercise available, and this exercise basically has a different kind of blanks here. As you can see, the values are available directly, but there are things missing. As you must have realized, the variable names are missing. So try different variable names, and you have to figure out whether the name matters and whether the order matters. So this particular one I would like to show you with an example so you can try further. So let's try it out in our editor and see whether it is giving us the result that we are expecting it to. So this is the same kind of program that you have seen in previously, where I'm having some blanks here. If you remember the previous program that we have worked on this kind of thing, where we had I here and I in the place of this, this, and this, and j here and j in the place of this, this, and this. If you remember the previous few slides away, where I discussed about how the nested for loop works and um, the order of the statements that are getting executed through a table and an output screen, I mentioned that whenever I mentioned a term called row whenever I'm talking about this particular loop, and I'm using the term called column whenever I'm discussing about this particular loop. So basically, for each row, 3 stars, that means 3 columns got printed, and for the next row again 3 stars, 3 columns, and the third row 3 stars, that is 3 columns got printed. So you can understand that this particular loop is dealing with rows and this particular loop is dealing with columns. So let us change the names here as we discussed. So I'm giving the variable called row here. So this is row equal to 1 instead of I equal to 1, row less than or equal to 3 instead of I less than or equal to 3, and a row plus plus instead of I plus plus. And here also I want to give a name as column. So column variable, and so column equal to 1 instead of j equal to 1, and column less than or equal to 3 instead of j less than or equal to 3, and column plus plus instead of j plus plus. And so I have my program complete. Let me check whether and it gives me the result that I want. What if I change the variables order? If I write column here and and if I write row here, what changes? So I have changed it, and let's check whether this is giving me a problem. Okay, if you observe, there is an error available called column is undeclared, first using this function. So let's solve this problem. So I'm going to move this declaration of column variable before the for loop so that it satisfies the problem, and let's check whether this one works. Okay, I'm running the program, and as you can see, it is giving me the result of 3 by 3 star. So I strongly recommend you to do your own experiments to figure out whether the order matters. Okay, so this ends our video, and thank you so much. If you like my video, please like and share, and if you don't like something in the video, please put it in a comment, and so that I will improve myself in the next video. Thank you so much.